Hello, hello, hello. My name's Karita Robert Green, and welcome to the Unwrap Your GIFT podcast, the show where we dance in conversation about all things to do with life, how to find your gifts, and hear stories from inspirational people around the world. You will learn how to celebrate who you truly are, unwrap your gifts, and step into your true, authentic power. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to season 2 of the Unwrap Your Gift podcast. This season is all about legacy. What is your legacy? Thank you to everybody for tuning in today. I'm so excited to have you. Today we are joined by the amazing Janine Cummings. Woo, woo.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Janine. I'm going to share a bit of information about Janine and share her bio. So Janine, the amazing Janine, is a video marketing coach specializing in live video and is the founder of Boss It Live. Janine teaches small business owners how to confidently leverage live video on social media, helping them to increase their visibility and build a strong, impactful, strategic brand presence online. Janine's unique live video framework teaches a simple but effective strategy for live video, which significantly helps her clients to increase their confidence with video presentation, engaging their audiences, and using various tools and technology. Janine is passionate about community building and creating powerful connections through collaboration, and is committed to helping more women, particularly those who are shy and or introverted, show up and shine on social media with their own unique, life-changing message. Wow, wow, wow. Welcome, Janine.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a privilege to be here with you, Karita.
I'm so excited to have you. This is going to be one show not to miss.
Yes. Let's get into the conversation, the tea.
We're gonna dance. So I'd love to know about your journey so far, Janine. Tell us about your journey so far.
Oh, wow. How long have you got?
Well, we got some time.
So it's been a minute. I have been in these digital streets since circa 2015. So when I first got into live streaming, Karita, I was still working the full-time job. I didn't see it as a business. It was just a passion. I had just finished writing my book, published it, and didn't know what the next thing was for me. And so I prayed. I was like, Lord, I've spent 18 months of my life focused on this book. What else? I didn't want to just go back to the humdrum of work. I was going to have to anyway. And then live streaming came about. I was introduced to the app Periscope. I don't know if you remember or know Periscope. Periscope that is no longer. And it opened me up to a world of being able to connect with people in a way that I had never been able to before on social media. So, traditionally we know how social media works, but this was live. Communities were being built, conversations were being had, and I was just captivated. I was like, hold on a minute, I could have my own show, live streaming. Like I felt like I could have my own TV show because I didn't really know what that really was about, but I was just like, I've got to find out more about this. And so what a lot of people don't know is that when I first got onto the platform, it took me 3 weeks before I actually went live because I was just consuming and watching people. I was really nervous. I was really fearful to actually do it. Then when I eventually did it, I then didn't go back on for, I don't even know how long. But like I said, one of the things that's very powerful about live video that was evident to me from then, even though I didn't know anything about it, didn't have a business, was that community was being built. And I absolutely loved that. So I started my own, something simple, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I started a show called Walk With Me, where I would just go live, walk in from the station to work for 10 minutes. It was about 10 minutes. And I would just talk to people and I would, show them where I was, which you don't do now, right? For safety, you don't do that. But at the time I didn't know. So I did that. And I quickly realized I was good at having two-way conversations with people and really kind of fostering that space that was, as I said, community. So I then was inspired by a campaign by L'Oreal called Women of Worth. And the campaign was all about celebrating women for who they are, not what they look like. So, you know, the whole Woman Crush Wednesday thing. I don't know if you remember, if anyone remembers that, where on a Wednesday, women would be putting up pictures of themselves, you know, they're looking at as best possible. Anyway, so I started creating a live stream series where I would celebrate. I'd go live for about 10 minutes and literally just celebrate a woman who stood out to me that week. So I'd go live, I'd tag her and say, Karita, I'm celebrating Karita this week because of X, Y, and Z. And quickly, it just grew legs. Women the world over were starting to jump onto the same concept. I then created a Facebook community that grew to over 5,000+ women the world over. We would have meetups. It was just phenomenal. It was, and back then there was nothing like that. You know, Facebook groups are now 10,000 dozen, you know, you can get any kind of Facebook group, whatever you need. But back then there wasn't that kind of community feel. And so my heart and my passion was really born out of that community, Women of Worth. And I really wanted to help women to show up empowered using live video because it was a free tool. And it was a great way, and is a great way, for us to be able to share our message, our unique gift. And so that's pretty much how I got started. And I did that alongside my job. And then in 2017, I said, you know what? I'm going to burn the boat. We know that terminology, Tony Robbins. I'm going to burn the boat and I'm going to go for it because you only get one shot through this life. And I was like, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? I do it and I fail, and then I go back to work. And I haven't looked back since. I've been coaching women since then. And yeah, that's how I got started.
Wow.
Very long-winded. But I wanted to make sure I gave you the full tea.
I'm literally sitting at the edge of my chair. Like, what a story. And in that, I'm hearing trailblazer, I'm hearing pioneer, I'm hearing that you done something. You weren't looking up and seeing somebody doing it. You created that for yourself. You made it up, which is amazing. Because I know back then, there wasn't many people live streaming.
No.
It was quite a new thing. Because when I started, live streaming didn't exist.
Yeah, me too. I came from the era of Instagram where you had, I think it was like 15 seconds if you wanted to record a video, and then it would, and I'd always get cut off because I talk so much. So yeah, I know what you're saying.
Wow. So your passion to just, was it to build community, would you say? What would be the driving force for you, would you say, that made you want to show up online? Because it's quite challenging to do that.
Absolutely. I think for me, the whole thing around showing up online and just being consistent, because at one stage I was going live every single day, multiple times a day. But what I started to see was that it was empowering and encouraging other people, other women to show up. They were turning up to my live streams, they were listening, they were connecting with each other. And that's when I started my 5-day challenge, go live in 5. And I've seen, I will say, thousands of women, whether they've worked with me in a paid capacity or not. I've helped thousands of women, but I've seen them literally go from, I can't do this, I cannot go on camera, to starting their businesses with the foundation being live video, to create that visibility, to build their own communities. They've modeled off of what we built back then with Women of Worth. So for me, when I was turning up, and then I was starting to see women turning up, and I was starting to see them change their whole mindset, their energy, and just putting it out there, going live and just like, yes, we're Women of Worth. And I just thought, you know what, that to me was the driving force, especially at times when in the beginning, it was all heart-centered. There was no money involved in any of that. When I built that community of 5,000+ women, they weren't paying me a penny, but it was out of the heart. Because for me, I was just like, do you know what? I see something in this. And regardless of whether or not I'm compensated financially, these women, it's touching them and it's changing their lives. And another thing I want to share is that we had something every week in the group, every Friday, called Feature Friday, where a member who had stood out to me, or who had been really intentional with supporting others and being active in the community, they got to take over for the entire day. And the combination was sharing lives, whatever they wanted to do, promote, but it was about sharing their story. And I remember two examples, Carita. One woman who bailed out and said, I can't do it. I just can't go live, who then built her own network marketing business, going on to do sales, selling upward of $2,000 on a live stream when she would go live, built her business with her husband, who has since passed away. And one of the things that she said to me recently was, Janine, thank you for live streaming. Thank you for what you did. Because if you didn't, I wouldn't have had that time with my husband, all the videos, all the memorabilia that they now have on live stream. So this was a woman who was like bailed out, couldn't do it, builds a whole business. The second woman, she took us on a journey from her childhood to adulthood, took us back to her family home, shared a story with us when she nearly drowned, shared her story of abuse. And the thing is that when we step forward to share our stories, and we make ourselves vulnerable and open and share the relatability, that encourages another person, whether it's a woman, man, whatever, it encourages another person to say, oh my gosh, it's not just me. I can share too. And you know what? When I do that, I'm not alone in that. So yeah. So it's a whole thing. Like I said, we could talk about this all day, but I am so passionate about the power to build community and transform lives. And so my ethos, my mission is to help my clients, and even those that aren't clients, those in my community, to say, do you know what? I'm going to take this and I'm going to show up, because if I don't show up with my message, someone in the world does not make it. There you go.
Wow, that is deep. That is deep. And I'm really getting a sense of purpose and connection and community building. And this season is all about legacy. What is your legacy? And you've already started to touch upon it. So what would you say is one of your legacies
so far? Oh my gosh, what would I say? I think for me, my legacy would be the lives who I have actually touched. And another story, and I don't want to get too sad about it, is that I met a lady who I met her on Periscope. And I remember at the time judging her, being so like, oh my gosh, her live streams are so terrible. Anyway, she signed up for my challenge, and she then dropped out of the challenge. And she ended up sharing with me that the reason she dropped out of the challenge was because she had just been given the diagnosis that she was stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. But one of the things that she shared with me, and we eventually got to meet, and she shared her story, was that the challenge, even though she didn't complete it, it gave her the confidence to show up, and she started going live consistently. Then she created a whole series, taking us through the journey of her treatment. She was going via the holistic route of her treatment. And I got to meet with her about a month or so in person before she passed away. And one of the things that was just so touching for me was that she had had such a challenging time, not just with her diagnosis, throughout her life, but she had such a zest for life that she wanted to share. And she did that. She did that on her live stream. She did that on her videos. And so even though she is no longer with us, that to me is important, because the legacy has to be that we leave a footprint. We leave a footprint for the next person. And whether or not we feel like, oh, this feels good, I feel stupid, or is anybody watching? Does anybody care? Does anybody care? Yes, somebody is watching. Yes, somebody cares. Yes, we need to show up. And so for me, the stories of the various women over the years who I have met, connected with, supported, coached, it's just mind-blowing. And for that reason, I will continue to show up. For that reason, I will continue to steer and champion women to use this free tool. Like, it's free. We don't have to pay for it, right? So why not? Why not? If you've read, I don't know if you know the book, The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. It's a book that's told in 2 parts, a parable, and then the parable is broken down. And it's about this character who is he's a nobody from the land of familiar. And he goes off on his big adventure to fulfill and find his big dream that the dream giver has given him. And without spoiling the story, it's absolutely powerful. But there is something in the book that for me, I can't not show up. And I mentioned it earlier, that somebody in the world doesn't make it if we don't show up. And when I say don't make it, I don't mean, oh, yeah, they just give up on their dreams. No, they don't survive. When we show up, somebody's life is saved. So let's show up. So that essentially, I hope that answers your question. That's my legacy. You know, I don't have any children. You know, that was one of the things that I wanted to have, God knows. But I will show up and I will serve, and I will continue to drive the message of the importance of us showing up. Our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, were their prayers, answered prayers, and they paid too much of a price for us not to fully show up. So yeah, I'm going to continue to live on my grandmother's legacy, and yeah, and encourage you to do the same, or whoever's listening.
Wow. You know, you blew me away just now.
Really?
I was fighting back tears when you
Oh,
said that, because I really got the importance of legacy and leaving your mark in the world.
yes.
And you never know whose story, by telling your story, who will be impacted by
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And the power of just showing up,
Yes.
even when you don't want to,
Yes.
because we all have a message to share,
We certainly do.
and no one can hear it if we don't share it.
They cannot.
So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
And I really got that as well, that when you started live streaming,
Yeah.
and I'm talking about live streaming because that's your legacy as well.
Mhm.
You're helping people to share their stories unapologetically,
Absolutely.
leaving a legacy in the world. Like, that is magic. And when you started, it was about passion. It wasn't about how much money can I make, because there
No.
wasn't even a monetization back then.
Mhm.
So what would you say are some of the challenges that you see people facing when it comes to live streaming?
The challenge has always been, do I have something worthwhile to say? Will anybody listen? Does anyone care? Will I embarrass myself if I show up? There are so many variables as to why people don't show up. When I first started live streaming, you would go live, and no matter what platform, you would get the views. One of the challenges now is the shifting sands of social media. So we are not seeing the level of reach unless it's via paid ads. We're not seeing the same level of organic reach. The thing about live video, which is a challenge, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. It's an amazing tool, creating that real-time experience and connection with the audience. But at the same time, people hyper-focus on the real-time experience, meaning if they go live and someone doesn't show up straight away, or the views are low, that means that, oh, I'm rubbish. Oh, that no one wants to hear it. I'm not going to do it again. We've got to stop doing that, because we need to understand that our message will land at the right time with the right person, and also the power of the replay. But it's a mindset thing. A lot of people are so inside themselves about all of the things that I've shared and more, that they just don't show up. Or when they eventually rip the Band-Aid off because they have all these expectations, it doesn't go the way they think it should. They just don't. And then there's as I said, the evolution of live stream. So things are changing now. So back in the day, we would just get on our mobile and just go live, whether you got a tripod or not. You would just go live, right? Whether you got the lights in or not. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. My lives used to be on my little lamp stand with a hairband attached to my phone to a little bootleg tripod and listen, and then I'd stand on tiptoe just so I could be in the frame. So trust me when I tell you, I know what it's like. But now things are changing. So there's a lot more tech and tools. It's a lot more advanced. And gone are the days where people would just watch us go live in a box. So there's a fear around that, the tech, the tools. What do I actually need? You don't need all those things to get started, absolutely. But I think that people put a lot of pressure on themselves, so they just don't show up. And then, I speak to Christian women as well, that they don't want to speak out, as the Christian woman, married, kids, whatever, ministry, you don't want to, you just don't want to. There's so many things. So we've really got to shift out of the mindset of some of the things that I've mentioned and starts being more focused on those who we're called to serve. If that answers your question.
Yeah, love it. It's not about us, it's about the message that we got to share.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful, super powerful. And so what is it that you do now? Tell us about the work that you're currently doing now.
What am I doing right now? So I'm working with group coaching, so women in groups, helping them, taking them through my Accelerate Live program. So live launches, teaching them the framework, the fundamentals for live launches. I'm also doing one-to-one work. So I work with a lot of startups. So those that are quite new, starting a new business, but also quite new to the social media space. Women who have established businesses, they've been in the online space, but they want to accelerate and start getting more leads and clients. So I have monthly membership, I have the group coaching program, and then for those who want to have the more strategic one-to-one time, I do one-to-one coaching as well as having digital products. But yeah, that's my main focus. And now I want to start moving into doing events, in-person events. Now the world has fully opened back up, because that was something I started before what happened. So I started doing that, and then we had that time when we was lockdown. And so, yeah, so now I want to go back into doing in-person workshops and events. So
Wow.
what's the space?
Powerful, exclusive.
Yes.
Amazing. And this is the Unwrap Your Gift podcast, and it's all about empowering people to unwrap their gifts so they can step into their power.
Yes.
So what would you say is one of your gifts?
My gift is my voice. 100%. God has made it clear that it's my voice. From a child, I was also, you're talking too much. It was my granny, my chatterbox in school. I was always, she's a bright girl, but she's underachieving because she talks too much. And over the years, God has revealed so much to me in terms of using my voice. And so I know that, especially with what I actually do and how I came into the live video space, 100% it is my voice. I've got the gift to talk. I've got the gift to teach. I've got the gift to entertain and to just bring people together as well. So that's what I'm going to continue working on and doing. So yeah, I would say my voice.
Amazing. And it sounds like you're just so certain, like, it's my voice. This is my gift. And you mentioned as well that you found it quite young. So was it just that you kept on talking? We're just trying to pull out, when was the time that you realized this might be something that's unique for me?
It was that I was very, very talkative. I think for me, when I look back to my childhood, I was very much into the creative space. So I'd spend a lot of time, I was this only child till I was 13. So I'd spend a lot of time alone in my granny's garden and singing and dancing and creating all these different scenarios. And also with only children, we do a lot of lone time role play. So I was very much into drama and all of that stuff. So I think I noticed that my voice was my gift in the final year of primary school, when we did, because we used to do the Christmas plays every year. You do Christmas plays. And the last year of primary school, I was asked to be, it was a main role, which was quite surprising because, back in the 80s, let's just call a spade, Black children weren't given the main priority role. So I was given the role of, it was in Sleeping Beauty, the role of the queen, but the wicked queen. And I really went with it. Karita, in the sense that I knew it was my last year and I wanted to make my mum proud and really do well at the actual part. And so I did the whole changing of my voice and really got dramatic with it. And funny enough, it was 2 nights. We had to do 2 nights as children. And the first night I did, and then I got sick. There was a stomach bug that was going around. So a lot of children were ill, myself included. And I remember my mum saying to me, if you're sick, you don't have to do day 2. And I said, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. My stomach was still off. Anyway, long story short, I did the dramatics. I did it all. And at the end of the play, I got a standing ovation. And I was so shocked because, as much as we didn't know as children, in the sense of black and white, I'm a black child, so that means I'm less advantaged. We didn't know it in the literal sense, but we knew it. We knew what was going on. So for me, when I saw a crowd of people stand up, as a child, that meant something to me. And I've remembered that all throughout my childhood, adulthood, that there was something that God was doing then, something God was showing me. And so, yeah, I think it's destiny. It's what I'm called to do. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And we're so glad that you're doing it.
I'm glad that you're glad. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. And you've mentioned quite a lot on your journey from starting back, was it 2016? Around
2015.
2015, right? So yeah, early adopter of the lives, and coached thousands of people in that time around the world to share their voice, to really show up, share their message, share their gifts with the world. Now, what would you say are some of the challenges that you personally faced along that journey? Because I always touch on this, because social media shows us all the highs, the glitz, the glamour, but what's it really like over those years doing what you do?
It's been hard. It's been hard because one of the challenges for me very early on was the fact that, because in the beginning it was not a business, it was heart, soul, passion. I didn't know any of the business aspects or side of things. So I would show up and just deliver content value. I'd let so many people have access to me. There was no boundaries because I didn't know. I didn't know how to create a lead. I didn't know how to do any of the business side of things. Whilst I was building this 5,000 plus community on Facebook, I had 22 plus thousand people following me on Periscope, and I hadn't collected a single lead. So I had no one on my email list. I had nothing. So the challenge for me, after giving so much of myself for such a long period of time for free, when I decided I'm going to make a business of this and I'm going to start stepping into that, immediately the cheerleading and support was removed. A lot of people, and I don't know if it was a case of people thought, oh, hold on a minute, you're going from we're women of worth, and now I'm talking about Boss It Live and launching my business. I had a lot of people support me. When I quit my job live, I did it live as well. When I quit my job, I had thousands of people join me on the live stream. Yes, Janine, we're supporting you. But when I created my first offer, when I eventually did that, and all the nerves and the fear and all of the things that go with, can I ask for the sale because I've done so much for free, I couldn't even get this many people to purchase my product. So it was really difficult for me to go from, I'm somebody who's just showing up, creating a community, and everyone was like, Janine, you're so great, we love you, boss queen. But then no one wanted to buy. So my feelings were really, really hurt in the beginning, in the early days, because I thought, well, you've been with me and you've said how great I am. You're on every live stream. You're part of everything. And then there's no one. So it was difficult to go from free to paid. And I struggled with that. I struggled with that with my confidence. As much as I was confident to do this, go live, be on camera, talk to people, share, I wasn't confident to ask for the sale. And so I didn't. For a long time, I didn't. For a long time, I kept myself small. And then I would see other people who came up behind me, who were part of my communities, just run, not necessarily be doing live stream, but they would run. And I was like, oh my gosh. So there was a period of time where I really, really struggled with my confidence. No matter what, this is another thing that I want to say, and I hope it's okay to say, Karita, is that we have to stop worrying about what we are seeing in front of us from other people on social media. We have to stop worrying about and watching what people are doing or how are they able, because we don't know, number one, their journey. And there's a whole load of stuff that goes on. And we are making assumptions and then allowing that to affect how we show up. Don't do that, because a lot of people thought I was kicking like Bruce Lee. And then one day I went live in 2018. It was a live that I entitled Fear. And I was at a stage where my business, it was rejection after rejection. I'd do sales calls. No one was signing up for nothing. When I tell you not a thing, people were not signing up. I was going through difficulty in my personal life. And I went live. My face was puffy because I'd been crying. I was crying on the live stream, chipped nail polish, all of that stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm having a difficult time. I'm really struggling here. But the response to it, and not from a viewpoint of misery loves company, but the response for people who are saying, do you know what? I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with this. it just created that whole, okay, I'm not alone thing. So what I would say, Karita, if anyone is not showing up, or they don't feel they can start the business, or they're not good enough, whatever it might be, whether they're starting a podcast, having a live launch, whatever it might be, starting your business, whatever it might be, just do it and don't worry about what anybody else is doing. You are more than good enough. We are more than good enough. So yeah, don't just, get that thing off your shoulder, dust it off and show up. So that was it for me. But we have to break out of those limiting beliefs, don't we?
And a lot of people listening could relate to what you just shared, in that sense of you may be giving away a lot of value for free, doing things for free, showing up for your community, getting all the yays. And then when you put an offer out, the crickets come out.
Hello, is anyone there?
And there's a lot more competition now. And this is where it's important to understand who you are and what you stand for, and how you can monetize your gifts so that you can share them with the world without stopping because you can't afford to live and eat.
Absolutely.
So did you get any support during that process?
What, when I was going through the difficult time?
Yeah, to monetize, because there was a point, it sounds like, where you went from not earning to actually starting to monetize, get clients. There was a shift for you somewhere.
Absolutely. The shift was I got a coach. So for a long time, I resisted doing that because, we think we can do it ourselves, band-aid everything, I'll just Google everything. And there came a point where I knew that I had something, but I didn't know how to necessarily connect all of the dots. So I hired a coach. I got somebody who is a leadership coach, marketing expert and leadership coach for women. And that really, really transported me from that being stuck to making money and doing really well with my launches. But it was a lot of pulling up the hood and a lot of tough love. She would often say to me, Janine, let me ask you a question. Do you want candy floss or do you want vanilla? Meaning, do you want the sweet stuff or do you want the hard facts? And when she used to say that, I was like, oh man. But the point is that was the shift for me in terms of moving from I can't sell anything, what am I doing here, to monetizing fully in my business. So it's really important that we get the help and support that we need when it comes to, because sometimes we just don't have the resources, we just don't know how to move that needle forward.
Absolutely. So what tips, because we're coming to a close soon, what tips would you give to our audience who are listening? A lot of them are entrepreneurs or professionals that really want to start a business. Like, what tips would you give them in regards to going live? How do they get started?
Thank you for asking. So the first thing I want to say is that we need to know our unique, resounding message. When I say that, not necessarily your unique voice about how am I going to go live in terms of what am I going to say and how am I going to say it. That comes with practice. We master our craft once we practice it. But it's about knowing that what your message is. What is that unique, resounding message? Because like you mentioned earlier, Karita, there's a lot of competition now. But set that aside, there is no competition because no one can be you. I used to say that in my outro of my lives, no one can do you better than you. So be clear about your message is the first thing. The second thing is be clear about who you're talking to. It's really important that we demonstrate the value proposition for the person who's on the other side of the screen. Every single person that goes live, myself included, we go live to share what we want to talk about. We have an agenda and a mission, and that's fine. But we also need to understand that with that, we need to tell our audiences, well, why should I care? Why should you care about listening to me? So the value proposition, the what's in, I call it the WIIFT, the what's in it for them, not me. So basically having that in place, really, really important, the value proposition. And then the actual live stream itself, I want those of you that are listening to just know that when you go live, it's really important to think about attracting the audience. So getting them to stop and listen, and then also keep them listening. So having that impactful opening introduction. So saying who you are, what you do, demonstrating the what's in it for them, and then go into whatever the content is. And what you will find will happen is that you will get people's attention, and then they will be clear about why they're there. So they'll keep watching. and then you have to create the experience. So that's a whole nother layer that I teach. But yes, no, that's what I would say to people. Resounding message, getting clear, and having that real empowering, having that real empowering, impactful introduction.
Wow. Start with a powerful introduction and then work your magic. Brilliant. Yes. Brilliant. Now we're coming to a close, and I always like to ask our guests, what would you say is one of your favorite quotes?
Oh, I know it. As soon as you said it, I was like, I know what quote it is. It's quoted in my book, Everything. And the quote is from a spoken word Christian artist. His name is Mr. K. And he's got an album. It's old now, goodness me. It's called My Great Transition. And I listened to the album on repeat when I was writing my book. And the song, My Great Transition, has a quote in it. If I had stopped back then, how would I be here today? If I stop now, where will I be tomorrow?
Pause.
Yeah. I literally just was like, I was like, I have to. So even when I was writing my book, and I was thinking,
I love it. I love it.
Good. I'm glad you love it.
Wow, that's so powerful. And how could our audience and everybody listening stay in contact with you?
Thank you for asking. So for those who are listening, thank you so much for listening. If you want to stay in touch with me, you can find me across social media as Video for Bosses. And if you want to find out more about what I do, you can visit videoforbosses.com. But yes, come and connect with me on social media. My virtual doors are always open.
Wow. Thank you, Janine. You have been an amazing guest. I've loved doing this interview with you. And yeah, lots to think about.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you so much for having me and for inviting me. It's been an honor. Thank you, Carita.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So thank you everyone for listening. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channels and check Janine out. And remember, we are all born with a gift. And we all have special skills, talents, and gifts that we can use to be successful. And now's the time to unwrap your gifts. Have an amazing day and see you soon. Bye.